What was that exactly? Lately, the world has been acting strange. All across the planet, people are capturing things on their phones that make zero sense. Unusual phenomena, mysterious moments, and bizarre footage that refuses to fit into any logical explanation. And today, we're diving into dozens of them. From a tornado made of mosquitoes and a rainfall of fish, to geysers erupting out of trees, prepare yourself. Watch till the end and count how many times you say, "No way, that cannot be real." Let's start with something that's more heartbreaking than spectacular. In 2023, a beach in northern Japan was found completely blanketed with dead sardines, thousands of them. Local reporters said the silvery mass stretched for more than a kilometer. To this day, there's no clear explanation. Some scientists believe the school may have been shocked by a sudden drop in water temperature. Others think the fish exhausted themselves while fleeing predators. But the scene looked straight out of an apocalyptic movie, a coastline shimmering with lifeless bodies, and no certain answer as to why. Now jump to the Arabian Peninsula, a place already famous for colossal oil reserves. But this next clip feels like someone ripped a page out of a geology textbook and dropped it into real life. A group of friends was driving through the desert when they stumbled on something surreal, a river of crude oil flowing openly across the sand. Thick, black liquid moved like water, carving its own path through the dunes. No one could tell if it was a natural leak or the result of human activity, but the footage stunned viewers worldwide. The group immediately reported the discovery, and people were left with one thought. In this region, the riches beneath the ground seem like they may never run out. This next clip was captured after a powerful natural disaster, when floodwaters swallowed entire stretches of land. With nowhere to go, millions of spiders were forced to escape upward, climbing tree trunks, branches, and anything that rose above the waterline. What happened next looked almost unreal. The spiders blanketed the trees in layer after layer of dense silk, wrapping entire canopies in ghostly white cocoons. Locals filmed the scene on their phones, stunned. An entire green forest had transformed into a mass of pale, shimmering webbing, like it had been dressed for Halloween by nature itself. And one thing was certain, this is not the place you'd want to take an evening walk. Thailand's monkeys, meanwhile, have long ruled the streets like unofficial city mayors. But in 2020, things spiraled out of control. During the COVID-19 lockdown, the tourist crowds vanished, and so did the food those tourists usually brought. Then, one day, over nothing more than a single cup of yogurt, chaos erupted. Hundreds of starving monkeys charged in from all directions, turning the streets into a real-life urban jungle battlefield. The footage looked like a scene from a dystopian movie, except this time, it wasn't people fighting for scraps, but monkeys. At first glance, this next footage looks straight out of a horror film. Thick red liquid pouring down the side of a tree as if it's bleeding. But don't panic, this is the famous bloodwood tree, found in parts of Africa and the tropics. The blood is simply sap, rich in tannins that help the tree heal injuries and defend itself. When the bark is damaged, the sap trickles out in bright crimson streaks and eventually dries, sealing the wound. A botanical self-healing system that looks unsettling, but is completely natural. And then there's the sky over the Chinese city of Zhoushan. One evening, without warning, the heavens lit up in a deep, fiery red, so intense it looked like the horizon had been set ablaze. Videos exploded across social media, and theories flooded in. A chemical accident, a cosmic event, even apocalyptic signs. But experts eventually traced the cause to something far more ordinary, a rare mix of atmospheric conditions and powerful searchlights from fishing boats below, which illuminated low clouds from beneath. Logical explanation or not, the eerie glow made it feel like the sky itself was signaling the end of the world. This strange footage dates back to 2012, captured near St. John's in the Vale in England's Lake District. What you're seeing is a rare optical illusion known as the Brocken spectre. It happens when a person's shadow is cast onto clouds or mist, appearing enormous and surrounded by a glowing rainbow halo. In this clip, the giant phantom-like figure seems to float above a small church in the valley, silent, still, and almost supernatural. Science has explained this effect for years, yet many who witness it can't help but feel there's something sacred, even mystical about it. And honestly, How would you react if your own shadow appeared in the sky, towering over the landscape? Next, we head to Alberta, Canada, where winter produced one of the most surreal visual illusions ever caught on camera. Temperatures plunged far below freezing, and winds blasted snow in every direction. But because a bright floodlight was pointed straight upward, the swirling snow and light interacted in the weirdest possible way. The snowflakes seemed to move against all logic, drifting in strange patterns that made the light itself look unreal. The scene resembled something pulled straight out of a sci-fi movie, beautiful, eerie, and completely baffling to anyone watching. Several years ago, the small French town of Ullins faced an invasion straight out of a nightmare. Thousands of moths, mostly box tree moths, descended on the town all at once. They were everywhere, clinging to windows, swarming around streetlights, pouring into homes and courtyards. Some blamed the bright nighttime lights, but nothing on this scale had ever happened before. What caused the sudden swarm remains uncertain, though thankfully the town has returned to normal since. Among the world's many natural oddities, dust whirlwinds stand in a league of their own. In one video, a tiny whirlwind suddenly forms in the middle of a crowded area. It scoops up dust and bits of debris, and even lifts people's clothes, sending everyone scrambling in surprise. These dust devils are usually small and short-lived, but sometimes they grow to powerful, dangerous sizes. Fortunately, in this case, the whirlwind fizzled out quickly, but the moment was unforgettable. We've already seen turkeys, deer, and ants walk in perfect circles, but in Baotou, China, an entire herd of sheep joined the list. For 12 days straight, hundreds of sheep walked in flawless circular formation. It started with just a few, then dozens joined, then hundreds. From above, it looked like some kind of ritual, hypnotic, orderly, and completely inexplicable. Experts proposed theories ranging from bacterial infections to stress, but none have been confirmed. And the fact that this circular behavior occurs in multiple animal species, that only makes the mystery deeper. Some phenomena are beautiful, mesmerizing, and just a little unsettling. In the Shale Creek Reserve, a woman captured something that looks impossible. A real flame burning behind a waterfall. Yes, actual fire, glowing right behind the curtain of falling water. This eternal flame is fed by natural gas escaping from cracks in the rock. Science explains it clearly, but locals prefer the legends. Some say it's a doorway to another world. Others believe forest spirits lit the flame ages ago to guard the land. So tell me, which version would you choose? Next, we move to the Tabin Wildlife Reserve in Sabah, where an absolutely wild eruption was caught on camera. But this isn't the fiery explosion you'd expect. This is a mud volcano in action. Instead of molten lava, thick grey mud bubbles and heaves its way to the surface, rising like something straight out of a science lab experiment. It looks calm, almost gentle, but the forces beneath are incredibly powerful. These volcanoes form when underground gases push water, clay, and silt upward, creating a bubbling, boiling cauldron of mud. Strange? Yes. Fascinating? Absolutely. A few years ago in Manitoba, residents stepped outside and immediately realized something was very wrong. Every light source, street lamps, porch lights, car headlights, was smothered in thousands of moths. They swarmed everything, making it nearly impossible to go outside without walking straight into a cloud of wings. Sure, seasonal insect spikes are normal, but this was something else entirely. Spectacular to look at from a distance, yes, but try walking through it on foot, and the charm disappears instantly. This next story happened around 1996 at the Cape of Good Hope in South Africa. A family parked their car for a peaceful walk along the rocks. When they returned, they discovered their car had been completely overrun by giant marine isopods, the same creatures sometimes nicknamed giant woodlice. They had crawled up from the beach and decided the car made a perfect little shelter. The family managed to reclaim it, but let's just say the vehicle required more than a quick rinse afterward. Now for something truly mysterious. A man was skating on a frozen mountain lake when he noticed a strange light glowing among the distant peaks. It wasn't sunlight. It wasn't a reflection. It was something else, something bright, isolated, and undeniably strange. He pulled out his camera and recorded it, later posting the clip online with one simple question. What was that? The internet immediately split. Some argued it was a rare optical effect. Others claimed it looked like some sort of portal, a window into another dimension. And now the question is yours. What do you think he captured that day? In one Brazilian town, people experienced a sight straight out of a horror movie. It looked as if spiders were falling from the sky. Hundreds of them appeared to be drifting downward, creating the terrifying illusion of a full-on spider rain. When the video hit the internet, many viewers insisted it must be fake, some kind of digital trick or camera glitch. But it wasn't. The explanation is surprisingly simple. The spiders had spun extremely thin webs that were almost invisible, and sunlight struck them at just the right angle to make the spiders appear suspended in mid-air. Creepy? Yes. Natural? Absolutely. In another strange encounter, a group of hikers walking through the forest stumbled upon something that felt impossible. Clouds lying between the trees. Thick white masses hovered at chest height, as if the sky had dropped down to the forest floor. One man even tried to scoop a cloud into his hands. It didn't work, of course, but the sight was hypnotic. It looked too dense to be normal fog and too low to be real clouds. Most likely it was a perfect blend of warm and cold air creating an unusually dense formation. But no one could say for sure. Now here's a question. How much money would you need to drink water that looks like this? In Texas, videos of blue rainwater began circulating online. In one clip, a man approaches a roadside puddle, and the water inside is a vivid, unnatural blue. Not a reflection, not a camera trick. Residents were baffled. Some blamed chemical reactions, others suspected pollution, but no clear explanation ever surfaced. Whatever caused it, people agreed on one thing. This was one of the strangest natural surprises they had ever seen. Japan also delivered a rare and unsettling phenomenon: soil liquefaction. During a powerful earthquake, groundwater was forced upward, turning what looked like solid earth into something that moved like wet porridge. In the footage, the ground ripples and shifts underfoot, behaving more like liquid than land. It's mesmerizing to watch, but terrifying to imagine standing on, as the familiar stability of the earth suddenly melts away. Finally, a group of friends hiking through the woods stumbled upon a sight they thought was impossible: water flowing out of a tree trunk. A real fountain, bursting straight from the wood itself. At first they could hardly believe it, but as they got closer, they found crystal clear water bubbling out of a cut in the tree like nature's own drinking fountain. Of course, after recovering from the shock, they did what any curious person would do: washed their faces and even took a sip. Moments like this remind us that the natural world still holds secrets, waiting for the right person to stumble across them. In these eerie frames, you're looking at the Rimac River flowing straight through Lima, the capital of Peru. One day, without warning, its waters turned bright red. Locals were stunned. This river is one of the city's main water sources, and now it looked as if someone had poured thousands of liters of blood into it. Authorities assured residents the water was still safe to drink, but with no clear explanation, no one felt calm. Rumors spread instantly, from industrial waste to chemical leaks to full-blown curses. Because no official answer ever came, the footage remains one of the most unsettling river transformations ever captured. In a quiet suburban neighborhood, someone noticed something odd and hit record just in time. A group of turkeys was walking in a perfect circle, over and over, following the exact same path. And in the center of their ring, one motionless bird. When the video went online, the theories exploded. A turkey ritual, a secret bird cult, a sign of the apocalypse. And honestly, the scene had everything: the circle, the sacrifice, the atmosphere. Only the demons were missing. Now picture this: you're standing on the deck of a cruise ship in the middle of the ocean, watching a peaceful sunset, when suddenly the sky begins pouring birds. At first, passengers thought it was snow. Then they realized the truth. Hundreds of birds were circling the ship, landing on decks, flying into cabins, and perching everywhere they could. Later, the captain explained that a storm was approaching. The birds had likely mistaken the massive ship for a safe haven. Hard to blame them, but seeing that many birds raining down in the middle of the ocean is something you don't forget. In Maharashtra, India, there's a place locals call the gravity-defying zone. In one clip, a man pours water down a slope, and the stream appears to flow uphill, completely against gravity. People have repeated the experiment dozens of times, and every time the water moves in the wrong direction. Some say it's caused by powerful upward air currents. Others are convinced it's something far stranger. Either way, it remains one of India's most puzzling natural optical illusions. And after Storm Babet swept through Mugdock, Scotland, a man walking his dog stumbled onto something he'd never seen in his life. The ground beneath him was moving, rising and falling as if the forest itself was breathing. It turned out that strong winds had lifted the top layer of soil, where the roots of trees were shallow. The entire forest floor began shifting like a giant loose carpet. It looked alive, beautiful, eerie, and unforgettable all at once. Here's a spectacle you definitely won't see every day. In the Murmansk region, an entire herd of reindeer suddenly transformed into a living cyclone. Hundreds of animals sprinted in a perfect circle, merging into a dense, rotating mass, like a furry tornado twisting across the snow. People who witnessed it struggled to understand what triggered this eerie display. One theory came from veterinarians. A vaccination team was nearby, and the reindeer sensed danger. Spinning in a tight circle is actually a defense mechanism. When the herd moves like this, predators can't single out a target. Turns out, we're not the only ones afraid of injections, and reindeer aren't the only creatures to perform this strange ritual. Dolphins do it, elephants do it, sheep do it, but the most extreme version happens in army ants. These ants are completely blind. They navigate only by scent, but if one ant turns the wrong way, just one, the others follow the misplaced trail. A circle forms. More and more ants join, convinced they're marching in the right direction. Soon, a gigantic spiral appears, an ant carousel that continues until the insects collapse from exhaustion. A tiny mistake, and they all end up trapped in an endless loop. A grim but painfully accurate metaphor for life. Near Mount Macedon in Australia, there's a spot the locals call the anti-gravity hill. In one video, a girl places a bottle on what looks like a downhill slope. Naturally, you expect it to roll down. Instead, the bottle begins creeping upward. No one is touching it. The road is empty. And it genuinely feels like gravity has decided to break its own rules. Skeptics chalk it up to an optical illusion. The shape of the landscape tricks the eye, making downhill look uphill. But when you see it in person, it's hard not to believe something far stranger is happening. On the island of Hormuz in Iran, the coastline turned a shocking shade of blood red after a heavy rainstorm. At first glance, the scene looks like something torn from a horror film. The sea itself dyed crimson. But here, nature has a simple explanation. The island's soil is rich in iron oxide, a deep, rusty red. When the rain washed the powdered earth into the sea, the shoreline transformed into a scarlet strip. It looks terrifying, almost otherworldly, but it's just another one of nature's dramatic tricks. And finally, among all the strange events captured in the sky, this one from Canada stands out. A man was taking a late-night walk when he noticed a shimmering light overhead. He grabbed his phone, pointed it up, and seconds later, the sky erupted with towering pillars of blinding light. Dozens of vertical beams shot upward as if portals were opening above the earth. Scientists call these light pillars, a natural effect caused by reflections off floating ice crystals. But not everyone buys that explanation. Some call them signs. Others believe they're gateways. So, what do you think? In 2014, off the coast of King Island in Tasmania, a truly heartbreaking event unfolded. Hundreds of pilot whales washed ashore in one of the largest mass strandings the region had ever seen. Rescuers rushed to save as many as possible, pushing the giant animals back toward deeper water. But despite every effort, most of the whales did not survive. Official reports suggested disorientation. Locals suspected naval sonars or strange underwater disturbances. But one widely discussed theory says that all it takes is one sick or confused leader to drift toward the shallows, and the rest of the pod, loyal and tightly bonded, follows to the very end. Now imagine waking up, pulling open your window, and seeing not one, but two suns hanging in the sky. That's exactly what one man witnessed. Stunned, he grabbed his phone because nobody would believe him otherwise. In the video, one bright sun dominates the horizon, and slightly above it, another glowing sphere. People argued endlessly. Was it a rare atmospheric phenomenon, an optical mirage, or something far stranger? If you saw two suns above you, how would you explain it? In another strange clip, a man was walking through a park in Southeast Europe when he noticed something that looked impossible. Water was pouring out of a tree, a steady stream, flowing as if someone had installed a tap inside the trunk. Experts later explained that heavy rainfall had flooded the groundwater. The water needed an exit, found a hollow trunk, and burst through it. Logical, yes, but if you saw it without explanation, you'd swear it was CGI. Then came a viral video from Pune, India. People stood by the Mutha River, staring in shock as giant dark funnels twisted above the water, shaped like tornadoes dropping straight from the sky. The scene looked apocalyptic, and for many the first thought was, this is it. The alien invasion has begun. But the truth? No aliens, no supernatural force. These swirling columns were made of mosquitoes, millions of them, forming massive spirals people began calling mosquito tornadoes. Scientists still can't fully explain why such huge swarms appeared all at once, or what triggered the eerie spiral formations. And honestly, if you saw towering vortexes forming in the sky with no explanation, what would your first thought be? Tell me in the comments, because your answer might say more about you than you think. This rare and breathtaking natural phenomenon is known as a sun pillar, or sun candle. And honestly, it looks like something straight out of a fantasy world. High above us, tiny ice crystals float in the atmosphere. When sunlight strikes them at just the right angle, the sky suddenly ignites with a towering vertical beam of light, a glowing column stretching upward as if opening a portal to another dimension. Call it a gateway to a parallel universe, or call it a clever optical illusion. But one thing is certain, once you see it, you never forget it. Now imagine you're casually looking out your window, and suddenly hundreds of birds start falling from the sky. Exactly that happened in Mexico. A flock of yellow-headed blackbirds was peacefully flying overhead when, all at once, they plunged downward as if yanked by invisible strings. Some managed to recover and fly off, but many crashed onto the streets below. There was no storm, no heavy wind, nothing that could explain such a dramatic collapse. Speculation exploded online. Was it toxic air, a sudden shockwave, something paranormal? One expert suggested a predator, maybe a falcon, dove into the flock, forcing the birds to drop in a synchronized evasive move. But even today, there is no definitive explanation. Let's move to 2019 in southern Russia, where a living storm descended from the sky. A colossal swarm of locusts tore across fields and farms, devouring everything in sight. Crops, grass, green fields, nothing survived under the moving cloud of insects. Farmers tried nets, chemicals, anything they could find, but it was useless. For a while, it felt like the locusts owned the land, and humans could only watch and hope nature would eventually call a halt. And eventually, it did. Picture this. You're walking down the street during a rainstorm when suddenly fish begin falling from the sky. Real, living, flopping fish slapping onto the pavement. It sounds impossible, yet it was recorded in multiple locations. Scientists explain it with water spouts, small tornadoes that form over lakes or rivers. They suck fish upward, carry them for kilometers, and when the tornado dissipates, well, everything it collected just drops back down. So now I want to hear from you. Which of today's mysteries shocked you the most? Tell me in the comments. Your theories are often better than the official ones,